Hello and welcome back to Anastasia Speaks, where sacred spaces are created to heal the invisible scars and build communities of love whilst illuminating the magic of you through soul integration. I am Anastasia, your host, and in today's episode I want to talk more about twin flames, the signs that you've met your twin flame, and the spiritual awakening journey. I've briefly talked about my twin flame journey and kind of danced around the nitty-gritty in other episodes, as I couldn't possibly say everything I wanted to say on the topic in one or a couple episodes. It's a whole series on its own, which is why I wrote a poetry book detailing everything. I'll also be putting a second book out there to help others navigate relationship intensity, transformation, healing and growth whilst in relationships. But for now, go over and listen to all my solo episodes prior to this one. As I mentioned in my last episode, twin flames were created by God, source the divine, to anchor unconditional love onto the planet and to help humanity's consciousness elevate. That is their joint mission and purpose. The individuals, however, will also have their own individualistic missions in regards to how they serve out in the world. Each twin will usually be quite privy on what each other's solo mission is. So before I get into the meat and bones of the signs, I will tell you that twin flames aren't created to feed the ego, to be romanticized, or to fit into boxes of agenda outside of spiritual evolution, unconditional love, and union. The souls of twin flames exist on higher planes of existence and meet on astral planes between the 7th and 12th dimension. Twin flames have existed since the beginning of creation, and this is why they have been written throughout the ages. The terminologies have changed, but the messages of unity and the ladder or path of spiritual evolution is the same, as is the ascension. Some of the world's greatest teachers have another individual who is depicted or documented as an integral, pivotal part of their identity or journey, spiritually entangled and intertwined within their path on a quantum, physical, emotional, and spiritual level. These historic or famous twin flames would be spoken about as being one's confidant, greatest teacher, disciple, mentor, partner, or truest friend on the deepest level one can attain on this human level. Quoted as being inseparable at the best of times, and yet like seeing, hearing one another in each other, not just from themselves, but others who interact with them or knew them also. Almost from nowhere, with no reason or purpose to have initially met, if not for divine intervention, fate, and destiny. It would be catalytic and create quite the otherworldly, earthly exchange. With that, here are the 9 signs that you've met your twin flame. Number 1, there's a deep understanding and subconscious awareness of a significant part of you that exists. A part of you that you can't quite figure out or feel like you found yet. There's an awakening period of this, and it feels like grief, mourning, but it's a deep soul yearning. This may come in waves and build, or one wave at a time. This then sets off a chain reaction once questions are asked, of searching, and what I like to call the soul call. This leads to another chain reaction of serendipitous divine events. I remember crying so hard and not really knowing why, apart from feeling these feelings of grief and mourning. And yes, for me, that led to connecting with my twin flame the same night. I don't know if that happens for everyone, that instantaneously, once asking, but that's what happened for me, and it felt like I cried for a couple hours, but I couldn't tell you, I have no idea. It just felt like it was me, myself, the night sky and the moon, to be honest. And I go into obviously much more detail in my book. To be honest, the feeling was like niggling for me and was there in waves. So I remember the night before feeling this sadness, this somber feeling, and again, the next night, but it was kind of like, but why? I don't get it. Like, why am I feeling this way? what is it? Like, what don't I know? You know? And yeah, that just being a catalyst for everything. Yeah. Number 2, you have an unexplainable deep understanding of the other person when you meet them, and vice versa. Knowing all of this immediately when you first meet or connect. And with that there's this undeniable magnetism accompanied with feelings of unconditional acceptance. It's as though you are naked to them, and they are to you. There is no hiding behind anything. I mean, facades, clothes, lies, words, nothing. It is all bare. Number 3, there's an unfathomable sense of unconditional love that radiates from the both of you, unconsciously and consciously, but neither person may recognize, acknowledge, fully understand, or accept this straight away. It might take a while, but it exists and is usually acknowledged and accepted and understood further down the line. Number 4, there is this Kundalini awakening. It's this surge of energy within the body that might feel like a hot wave of lava from the base of your spine up through the center of your body to the crown of your head. It is intense, really intense. It's instant and usually happens as soon as you meet or connect with your twin. When I connected with my twin, which was actually for me online at first, I mean, I was sweating. For me, my logical mind would say, oh, it's because I was doing something unfamiliar and it was late and I was a kid really, so it was like rules and bedtime. But it was deeper than that. Like, I'm not a person who sweats, but sweating, you know, and feeling clammy for the first time in my life, which has never happened to me before and really since. And then also just tingling throughout my entire body. I mean, before he even said a word to me. And it just continued and intensified once we spoke. And like I said, as soon as the connection was made online, this jolt of energy just shot up through me like lava. It was so severe that I was looking around to make sure that I wasn't actually, nothing was happening to me physically and or around me, you know, that I could see, because it really was a visceral experience. Number 5. Your intuition is heightened and dialed up astronomically, generally, but also when it comes to this person in particular. You'll be able to hear your twin flame's thoughts, actions, feelings, intentions, and even what they're going through or their location. When we actually met physically for the first time, I was hearing his footsteps. Before we even met, you know, and he was yards away from me, you know, round corners of streets. I had no idea. It was an unfamiliar place. I'd never been to this place before, but I was hearing it. And I was having communication with him telepathically, you know, whether he was aware or was having the same, I have no idea. But that was what was happening for me. And I remember just feeling like I was floating the whole time, the whole day, and before we even met, and it being the most beautiful day I've ever seen in my life. The brightest, bluest skies, the fluffiest white clouds, and just everything was shimmering. Everything seemed to also kind of slow down at the same time. Again, I go into much more detail in my book, but all of a sudden I recognize that he's very close now, and I turn just as his hand is placed on my shoulder at the same time. And at that exact moment, there's thunder. It was as though the bus shelter that I was under collapsed, or the glass collapsed, because it was shrieking. It was like something out of a movie. It was insane, and just hailing down and torrential rain like you've never seen. I mean, it was beyond. It was just beyond. And at the end of it, I was like something that came out of the Amazon rainforest. But it was just magical, it was just incredible. And there were just so many things in the period that we were together that first time that is unexplainable, and some may say it's just coincidence, and that's fine. However, twin flames know it's beyond coincidence, and these things happen when twin flames get together. Things like this, of this magnitude, happen, and it's the most surreal, beautiful, mind-blowing experience one can have. And I do believe that we can have moments like this with people who we are in relationship with that are open to being the purest channel of unconditional love, and vice versa, and receiving that. I really do. And not just among twin flames. Number 6, your core life paths are almost identical or significantly mirrored, and this aspect allows both of you to connect to each other on the deepest levels you've ever experienced. For my twin and I, we were both kind of the responsible sibling and kid in the family, and took on the same roles. Though we had older siblings, we weren't under one roof. And so we would take that role on because we saw the need, and we were very much in service to our families. We grew up in strict households, religious households, and our core beliefs and values are identical. I mean, how we go about things, our processing, how we intellectualize things, and the way that we see life and people. That might seem quite basic, but it goes beyond that on a deeper level, It's how we see ourselves, how others see us and perceive us, and the energy that we bring into any space, the mindset and the intentions we have when we are working on something or going into something and being out in the world. The way that we go into relationships, the way that we view our partners, even down to the kind of partners that we choose and have chosen, and actually going through marriages and divorces, is uncanny how identical really it is. And also just this purpose in life and how we show up and who we are here to be, who we've shown up to be our whole lives. For me and my twin, it even goes as deep as lineage and origins of coming from the same countries. And the more that I've dug into our makeup and gone through even astrology and numerology and past lives even, because I've had spontaneous recalls, we're so intricately interwoven. Number 7, ego death. There is this shattering of one's ego that happens when you meet and connect with your twin. So quite often there is this dark night of the soul, and really that is just where everything that is false kind of falls away, and you question everything that you've ever known or experienced to be true, and recognizing or analyzing things that were significant but now seem to not hold the same value or significance. And this can last for days, weeks, or months. Sometimes it can feel like your whole world is being turned upside down. Literally feels like everything's been ripped from under you and you just don't know what to do. And so you go further into a deeper rabbit hole before coming out, And I just want to say to anyone who is going through this, that this is your rebirth. Look at this time as a time of purging. Look at this time as a time to become your most luminous self, because that's exactly what's happening. This is a time for you to really take care of you, to heal and to really stand in your power and to deliver the messages of your soul that you are meant to deliver and share with humanity, to raise consciousness. It requires that we do this shadow work, that we do the deep work on ourselves, on our minds, body, spiritually, mentally, to understand just what vibrations we're putting out and what vibrations we want to put out. Number 8, you'll experience intense periods of challenges, growth and healing due to the catalytic unraveling that happens when you connect. The realization or recognition of your shadows, the versions of yourself that are operating from fear, which creates problems and requires you to transcend, elevate and upgrade the programs, beliefs, ideologies and behaviors that do not serve you, your union or the greater good of humanity. And this is really a continuation of the last sign. This speaks to the infamous runner-chaser dynamic that people have put out there. And I just want to say that that's just not what it actually is. I know that people use that and say that, but it's just not really correct and true to the truth of what's happening in Twin Flames. It's the period of healing and growth necessary for each individual that causes each twin to actually go and heal and grow without inflicting harm and pain, consciously or unconsciously, to the other. Now, this happens from a core, deep soul level, or comes from, I should say, a deep soul level of not creating more karma, not wanting to harm the other, and being able to separate really until they can come together and be together in a space where you grow and can grow together in harmony and balance and in beneficial ways, rather than it just being conflict, negative, and not really beneficial, as beneficial as it could be when they're both off individually, healing, growing, understanding, etc. Because again, they are never separate. They share energetic blueprint. So, there is no real separation. And when one twin grows, the other grows, whether they're aware of it or not, whether you are aware of what your twin's doing or not, and in all the ways that you do or don't know that they're healing, trust and believe and know that this is also happening for you too. So as one twin elevates, the other automatically does the same. So I just want to say to everyone, this is nothing to be afraid of. This is nothing to get into fear about. This is necessary. And the twins that are codependent would have more separation because codependence is not healthy, and they need to learn interdependence, and this is why this can happen. And also having fear programs, again, will highlight this, will magnetize this, and will create this scenario. I'd also like to take the time to say that twin flames are not toxic. Now it doesn't mean that as humans, people don't have their narcissistic traits, or even some having toxic and abusive tendencies. As humans, that's got nothing to do with twin flames. Twin flames aren't inherently toxic or abusive. So I have heard people say I'm in an abusive relationship with my twin flame, and I'm not the person or the woman who will tell people their experience or shut down people's experience or try to invalidate a person's experience by any means. However, when it comes to twin flames, there is just such a different level of understanding and frequency that I have thankfully been gifted and channeled and understand. And now not everyone may agree, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I just have to put this out there because I made a promise to myself, and that was to come here and do the mission, which is to help demystify the false information about twin flames and to help people become their most luminous selves, to help people integrate with their soul more in every day, to be more joyous, to be more loving, to love louder. And your twin flame will do that. Your twin flame will definitely do that, but it will not be at a detriment or cost to your well-being, to your health. And like I said, if at any point that even becomes a potential, you separate. There is a separation. You aren't going to be in a relationship with your twin flame if it's abusive. Pure and simply, I'm really sorry to disappoint and to shatter that idea for some people, but that's just not what the truth is. When you come together with your twin flame, it is love. Now, there will be periods, as I've said, that will be challenging, that will feel gut-wrenching, that will be just soul-stirring, leave you in despair because of circumstance or situation, but not because the other person is harming you. And I really want that to be really loud and really clear. You know, this is not an excuse to stay with someone who is toxic, who is abusive. This is not what twin flames are. This is not what they're about. When twin flames come together, there can only be love that exists. And if it's not, they just don't stay together or come together at all. And that's the reality. And I really want to bring that in for some people because I hear so much. And when you really look, this is why they're so rare, because they do come together with such magnitudes of unconditional love that nothing else can exist. And because of that, that dynamic can be created where they have to go off and heal and grow and fix the things that need fixing within themselves before coming back together. You know, I will say to you that me and my twin went through many times where we had to separate and go off and do our own thing before we came back and said, hey, you know, and it was always love. It was never toxic. You know, it was just difficult and grinding at times, frustrating, irritating, even annoying, disappointing. I mean, you know, all the human emotions one goes through in any relationship, but nowhere to the extent or even close to what I've heard, seen, and have people really label. And I just want to get that absolutely clear. I just need that to really land. I know it might ruffle some feathers, so please just bear with me and really take some inventory on your situation. If you are aware of someone who's also going through the same thing or going through this or speaking to what I'm sharing with you today, please send them this podcast and tell them that they are not alone. Number 9, last but not least, you experience a oneness when you're together with your twin. And this oneness when you are together can only be described as coming home completely content without need or desire. You are just at peace, experiencing divine oneness and merging and bliss. And this will go beyond the physical realm. You will experience this in astral planes, and when you're deep in meditation, when you're asleep, when you are just about waking up, so you are in that theta state. And again, just as you go to sleep or when you're really relaxed and you are kind of conscious, but you have again gone into that trance-like state, and you will experience this all the time in different ways at random times, any time. This will continue and be this way always. There will be periods, of course, where you are just doing things and living as an individual, and there won't be like this huge moment or moments of this, but they'll exist, you know, just as you exist. And it won't be a thing that you'll need to call in, or you'll need to plead for, or you'll need to look for or search. It will just happen. It will just be, they will just come and you will just experience it. I could go on and on about what other signs I have found over the years, but you know, we'd be here more than the scheduled half an hour, so I have to condense it. But as we talk about twin flames, one particular pair comes to mind: Rumi and Shams. Now, Rumi is probably one of the most celebrated and quoted poets of all time. Rumi was a 13th century Persian poet, Islamic scholar, theologian, and Sufi mystic, originally from the region that is now Afghanistan. He was born September 30th in 1207 in what was then part of the Persian Empire, and later moved to Konya, which is now in Turkey. Shams of Tabriz was a wandering mystic who arrived in Konya in 1244. When Rumi met Shams, there was an instant electric connection, and it was as though Rumi found this teacher, mentor that he had been kind of envisioning or seeing in visions for his whole life. And the answers to all his whys kind of suddenly found him. They met, and it was this spiritual and emotional awakening. There was a profound recognition of one another, of unity and shared destiny, which are all hallmarks of the twin flame connection. Shams did challenge Rumi and his religious and philosophical perspectives, which only deepened his faith and broadened his poetic expression. Through their intellectual and spiritual mentorship relationship, Rumi underwent an inner transformation that turned him from just a respected religious scholar into a passionate poet. He started writing poetry, and his verses overflowed with themes of love, ecstasy, and longing for the divine. And this ecstatic love, all of which again is reflective of the soul-stirring and transformative union of the twin flame journey. Their relationship faced intense hardships, definitive of Sham's disappearances, with the added judgments and pressures of society creating periods of abrupt and painful separation for Rumi. Yet, through Rumi's writings, you can see and feel the transcendent nature of their union, the universal truths of love, and the true merging of souls, true of twin flames. Rumi's poetry and philosophical writings have had a profound impact on the Sufi tradition and gained popularity throughout the world for their profound insight into the human soul, along with universal oneness and divine love. I would like to share with you some of my favorite Rumi quotes that clearly depict the twin flames journey. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. I quote this in my debut book, The Empath Her Twin Flame, because it so perfectly and beautifully articulates the phenomena that twin flames go through before they meet, and this knowingness, this divine, fated meet, and it feeling divinely guided. It truly is and does feel like this miraculous moment, because there was no other way they could have met. And when I think back to how me and my twin flame met, there could have been no other way. And it's just unimaginable, from following instructions from my soul my higher self, to immediately then being able to connect with my twin flame through that. It's kind of like, what are the odds, you know? What are the odds? And what if I never did it that day? We haven't met in any other way. And this is 20 years later, if not for being intentional. So, you know, it goes to show the power of not only our intuition, but just how magnetized twin flames really are. And it's not just a, you know, happen chance thing. So with that, I'd like to share the second quote, which I'll also read in conjunction with the third quote, because I think they just go together. Lovers find secret places inside this violent world where they make transactions with beauty. And the third states, this is love. To fly toward a secret sky, to cause 100 veils to fall each moment. First to let go of life, finally to take a step without feet. These quotes speak to the ways in which twin flames will communicate and meet on astral planes and higher dimensional realms. It's another unexplainable experience that occurs between twin flames. You know, for so long, even in my book, you'll get to hear and read where I state, you know, I only but have to think about my twin and then question something. It could be anything, you know, once, twice, and then the next time I'll get an answer. Physically, you know, through some form of communication, or we'll meet on the astral planes and I'll get it that way. And without fail, it happens. Like, before I've even actually physically asked, or without even physically asking said thing to my twin. And this is true for twin flames. You only but have to think it, you know, and it's already communicated telepathically, energetically, spiritually. Because you are merged, it's as though you speak directly and have this direct speakerphone to your twin flame. And again, it's just, you know, the most beautiful experience and interaction one can have when you are fully accepted and unconditionally loved, and you know that you are home and welcomed to say how you feel, to ask any question without judgment, without fear, and there will be an answer or some sort of understanding. And with that, I shall share the last quote, and I'll try not to get too emotional or cry through it, because every time I read it, I just am always so moved. You and I have spoken all these words, but as for the way we have to go, words are no preparation. There is no getting ready other than grace. My love, you and I are together in this business with God. Whew, I feel like I need to read that again. I'm going to read that again for you guys. You and I have spoken all these words, but as for the way we have to go, words are no preparation. There is no getting ready other than grace. My love, you and I are together in this business with God. I had to read it again because it's so deep and it's so simple also, and you might miss it, you know. There are no words. There are no words that truly can depict twin flames and can depict the sentiment that is being stated in this quote, the feeling, the reality, the endless potentiality and possibilities of outcomes within twin flames, and their journey. It will humble you in ways inconceivable to most, at the most inconvenient and yet perfect of timings. You know, there is this unshakable understanding. And like I was saying earlier, complete acceptance of your twin's divinity and being divinely put together by God, you know, and it's that knowing, it's that deep, deep soul knowing. It is unshakable, you know, so the noise of opinions, rules, public notoriety, religion, societal programming or conditioning doesn't get in the way or move you in any way regarding the knowingness or love between you and your twin. You know, it truly is life-changing. It's transformative, because other than what I can say is your parents, if you have loving, present parents, and having a relationship with God or Creator, the Divine, there is just nothing else, you know, that compares, that truly compares to how soul affirming, how transformative, how just incredibly molding it is, you know. And the presence of the divine is so carefully and intricately woven between the threads of twin flames quantum entanglement that words don't do it justice. There are no words to quantify or qualify an accurate description or summary that depicts twin flames. Though we may still try, but truly there isn't. It purely is the only thing that can even bring you to an understanding is experiencing that, and experiencing unconditional love at its purest, truest form from any vessel. So yeah, it's why, you know, I guess people at times have a hard time letting go of who they thought was the one, because oftentimes the one is really showing another person that they are deserving and worthy of being in receipt of unconditional love and experiencing unconditional love from this person. And, you know, there is nothing like unconditional love in this world, and this is also how everything is made. So, you know, it goes to show you just how incredible love is, and that at the base of everything, that is what matters. You know, my poetry book, The Empath and Her Twin Flame, really was birthed from inspiration. And that inspiration was love. That inspiration was having this person who shares this identical soul blueprint and is able to hold space in such a sacred way for my being in this current timeline, you know, dimension and reality. And though, you know, that too had its growth spurts and adjustments when there were painful periods of separation, longing and yearning, but those all kind of dissipated and were transmuted once I understood its true purpose, which was healing on all levels and growth, you know. So writing my debut book was a token of my love to my twin flame, and a reminder, if you like, to humanity that love is what matters. And for twin flames to really wake up and remember their true calling, their joint mission, which is allowing love to be the loudest call and the loudest message to heal, grow, evolve, and transform. We're now at the part of the show where I give you some affirmations to repeat throughout the week to integrate what you've listened to today and help you unlock the parts of yourself you've closed off to love due to fear or opinions of what others think, say, or believe. I want you to say these affirmations with me to attract more love into your life and to hold space for more love towards yourself. I am one whole and belong unto myself. I am enough and deserving of unconditional love. I am complete within God's divine love. Unconditional love surrounds me at all times, and I just have to open my arms to receive. And just like that, we've come to the end of the show and the part where I shared this week's prompt, which is Love's Like Pandora's Box. These prompts are creative writing prompts designed to take you a little deeper into self-reflection, discovery, and soul integration, to get those channels of creativity and divine insights opening more and more week after week, to help integrate the lessons along with the messages our soul has for us. So take 20 minutes and 20 minutes only to write all that comes up without distractions. It doesn't matter what it sounds like or what it looks like. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just write and allow it to come out and be present. You don't need to share it, but if you feel moved to, I'd love to hear it. So feel free to send your responses in, or if you've got questions, share them in the comment sections on my social media pages or in the review sections, along with your replies to my additional question on Spotify to be answered on the next show. But for now, if you're ready to take the next steps into the journey of soul integration or need support navigating the flames of your twin flame journey, head over to anastasiaspeaks.com and book a free discovery call or twin flame counseling coaching session with me. You can also join the tribe and connect over on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse, searching Anastasia Speaks, or go to anastasiaspeaks.com for more. Remember, seeking more means you can no longer stay small. Delay is not denial. Missteps happen so we get the chance to realign, and you are not alone. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Love louder to release all fear. See you on the next episode.